All right, so we're in the third class of ministry coaching, and today it's going to be a review, and then we'll try to work it out so that we can do a coaching example. And I've got three coaching scenarios here, and so one of you will have to pop in the other room so we don't get the bleed over from the sound, and then buzz in. And that'll actually help us to capture a real good sample of working through the whole coaching process. And then whoever's here can hold up. Remember the double funnel, there's 4 parts: open, closed, open, closed. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the person who's here can hold up a finger and kind of try to discern where we are in the double funnel as I work one of you guys through. And we can even switch places then. And that's 2 tracks. And then just change up the scenario or come up with some issue of your own you're trying to work through. But at least there's 2 scenarios here that should work for our exercise. And then I want to talk about the difference between coaching and counseling. So coaching is helping people take responsibility for an issue, but it's not looking at deeper psychodynamic issues. And what I mean by deeper psychodynamic issues are emotions from the past that are unresolved, events from the past where there's no closure. That's more counseling. That makes sense? Coaching is staying in the present and holding space for someone so they can work through decisions they have to make or a direction they have to take. So is that a good
situation?
Yes.
Not past
Lifelong.
Unresolved issues. Yeah.
past issues.
Yeah. So there may be some bleed over if someone's trying to decide whether or not this is the time for them to deal with a forgiveness issue. Maybe you could coach them through. If they start talking about childhood trauma, take a time out and you might have to refer them to Katie. Refer everyone to Katie. If it's a hard issue, refer it to Katie. I hope Katie gets to hear this. So coaching is much more pleasant than counseling for me, because it requires more logic and less deep felt emotion or trying to deal with trauma that people are expressing to you. That can really be hard to deal with. So when I was a professional counselor, I specialized in post-traumatic stress. Well, you can imagine the stories. And then I had to wrestle with my emotions of wanting to go get a baseball bat and, provide some walking tall justice, and come to grips with that myself while I was talking to this person. It's more challenging. You get used to it. And some people are wired for counseling. I'm more wired for problem solving, as it's kind of a no-brainer for anyone who knows me. Problem solving is my thing. So anyway, with that said, let's just review real quickly. We're going to review real quickly the past, and then we'll get right into the modeling this situation. Move myself out of the way so I can change there we go, full screen view. Get my head out of the way. All right, so for week 3, this is just a review of the process. So the first thing you have when you meet with someone is you start with listening and triage. You're trying to triage or decide whether this is a coaching opportunity, whether you have to refer them to someone. Remember the 4 things that can you guys name the 4 things that someone might need from you? Information, yep.
Mostly suggestions or?
like involvement,
Info, physical help,
physical help,
inappropriate interaction.
inappropriate, yep. And then understanding your involvement.
Yeah.
They don't need anger then.
Yeah, so that would be, right, so they might want to just express anger. And it depends on how that goes, that might be inappropriate, but anyway, so you start with listening. And then you triage and you decide, hey, what do they need from me? Is this coaching? If it is, then we proceed. And then the coaching is three basic parts. Number one is mirroring. And so that's where you're listening and being a mirror to them, reflecting back what you're hearing. And then as you hear them bring up a topic that sounds like they need to resolve, you ask them whether they want to focus on that. So you're working as much as you can on one issue at a time. If you try to have a little of this and a little that, some people you talk to, in their mind it's organized, but they're juggling four things. I can't do that. For this process, it's built to do one at a time. Otherwise, it'll just be too mixed and mashed, and you won't be able to track where you are in the process. So you mirror. Then number two is you select a topic to address. That's on the top of the double funnel. Then you work them through the process. And then you end with SMART goals. So a three-step process. Mirroring, select a topic to address, and you let them select it, and you could say something like it sounds like
You've mentioned this a few times.
you've mentioned this a few times, or you have a lot of energy when you talked about this topic, and the other things you just kind of mentioned offhand, but there's a lot of energy or let's say upset or whatever it might be, a lot of emotion when you mention this topic. Is that something you want to work through? And then once you select a topic, you work them through the funnels and get to a SMART goal for number three. So does that make sense? I tried to make this as easy of a process as possible. I know one of them had a 5 or 6 step process, and I thought for me that's too complicated. And then acronyms, I can't remember acronyms. When I get under pressure, I can't even keep the acronyms in my head unless I've done it for years or decades. So with that said, any thoughts on that? Any feedback on that?
Nope, the homework for the double cup,
Yeah,
that wasn't bad, but trying to like reword or come up with my own smart
Mhm.
deal, that was like, I don't know, I think I bombed that part of it, but it makes sense to me, and I think that's ultimately what you were getting
That's
at
the
with
big thing.
with the homework is just rewording it in a way that works for us.
yeah, and it could be even keeping it the same. And I was thinking as I worked through, and let me just change
I
this.
thought the smart was so good that I didn't want to change it, and I fought with myself just trying to come up with my
Yeah.
own, because I figured, well, this is what we were asked to do, so I have to, and it just ended up being a mess.
Yeah, and you could even go back. I would suggest if you like the original, what you could do is actually take this paper and print it out on
Like an
cardstock and go front and back, tape it together so that you've got a card. Because if you really like this, all you need is a half-size card so you can carry it around with you for till you get used to the process.
Well, like, the way I wrote up the double cup method, the way I wrote this out is more rememberable to me, like I just
Yeah.
put issue list with some arrows, root issue,
Perfect.
and then from root issue is solution ideas, brainstorm,
Nice.
and then most obtainable first step.
Kapow.
Oh, there you go.
So that
That's
was
awesome.
more relatable.
It lands with you.
And I can almost rehearse that in my head after only writing it and reading it a couple times. Like I
Yeah.
kind of have that process to where the double cup, it makes sense, but it's harder for me to like
Yeah.
go through, like, for some reason, this is
Right.
just more,
Well, this is the way Mike Thompson thinks.
yeah.
And so I came up with this. And but it's not the way everyone thinks. So you'll have different catchphrases or summaries that work better for you. So
Now the smart question. I mean, I don't think I did bad. It's, you know, it's basically, what will you do?
Yeah,
How or how often will you get it done? Will you do it? Is this something you feel you can achieve?
perfect.
Does
That's
this
real.
does this move towards your ultimate goal?
Nice.
And what will you get done before our next meet?
That's the 5
You know,
steps.
but it just like it seemed, I don't know. I don't feel right about this. Like, I honestly feel your smart makes a little more time, like specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant. Like that kind of makes more sense to me. And I'm sitting here
Yeah.
fighting, going, how can I come up with something that my brain grabs?
Yeah, I just
And
use it then. If
okay,
you like it
well,
better,
thanks
use
for
it.
telling me now.
Yep. Yeah, so yeah, I would even suggest that if a half sheet of paper, if that size works for you, um, just fold it over and laminate it or print you know, front and back, somehow adjust the size to print front and back and cut it and laminate
Yeah.
it or cardstock or something that you can carry around with you. And it especially helpful to have it on the side of you as you're talking to someone, you can glance and notice where you are.
Well, and I kind of like the idea that you said have it on a half sheet. 'Cause
Yeah.
in a sense, you could be sitting here with your notebook, you know, who you're coaching or whatever, doesn't need to see that you got your cheat sheet
Exactly.
right in front of you. You know, I
Your
mean,
playbook. Yeah. All right. Well, that's perfect. So let's just see if there's any other notes and then we'll get into our exercises.
I like the way you got the problem.
all for the.
Yeah, that was good. All right.
So I was just beating myself up. I am my own worst critic. I mean, I do admit that.
Yeah. Well, you know, you work through things then and want it to be good. So I'm going to pause the recording and we're just going to spend some time organizing how we're going to do this. And then I'll pop the recording back on. So, all right. So we're back at it here. And Ryan is going to be the first subject. Could you close the door there so we don't get an echo through? All right. And if you want your feet to go up, it's the very front button on the right side. I know, because that's my favorite chair. All right. So
I can't hear you.
we cannot
I
hear
see,
you.
I see your mouth moving.
Don't get me too, you don't want me to be too comfortable. I might not wake up.
Yes, exactly. All right. So we're going to model the coaching process. And so we'll treat this like a real session. And so we'll get into character right now. So Ryan, yeah, you wanted to chat a little bit. What's going on with you?
Well, I'm thinking about making a big career change. I've been at the same line of work for, 20 some years, and it's just coming to a point to where I may not be able to do it anymore. And I think I might need to make some, changes.
So it sounds like you need to make some changes, and um, it sounds like it's something that you feel pretty strongly about.
Moving industry time, and I just, I feel like my body isn't going to hold up much longer, and I need to find, a job that is going to be more permanent for, as I get older in life.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're doing is not permanent. It's not something that's sustainable, is what I'm hearing. And you want something that'll last through no matter whether you're in great physical health or something happens, you tweak a knee or a back or something. Yeah. So what have you been thinking about? What are some of the ideas that have come through your mind about a career change?
Well, there's been several things that, driving, also working at different treatment centers. I'm I just don't know what to do. I've never really done anything else in my life other than, hard manual labor. So,
Hmm.
getting away from anything that isn't manual labor, I don't, I guess I don't know that I would succeed. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know that my brain would allow me to do it.
Yeah, so you're concerned about whether you're able to make this change and go from physical to something that requires more brain power or other skills. Yeah.
Well, and it's not so much even the brain, it's, I focus so much of my life on, high, fast paced, power driven work that, going to sit down behind a desk, could my attention span even handle it? Is it going to drive me nuts sitting behind a desk? I mean, I couldn't barely handle school when I was going.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, isn't there? Yeah.
There is. I guess I don't know what my first step should be. I don't know what I should do.
All right. Well, it sounds like this is something that you want to focus on today. What are some steps that you want to take and to maybe look at changing your career? Um, let me pause.
Well, I
Let me pause you for just a second here. All right. All right. So it sounds like is that the thing you'd like to focus on today? Is maybe making some first steps at exploring a career change?
I think it is. I think, I need to start somewhere, and I'm never going to be able to change careers unless I start taking the steps to make that possible.
Yep. All right. So let's look at some options then. What are some of the things that you've looked at as far as careers that you think God might be leading you to explore?
Well, I've looked at, a couple different treatment centers, that are hiring. There is some, potential setbacks with, background and, past criminal history and stuff that may require some extra work. And, I've also looked at some driving jobs, but driving jobs nowadays, you have to go to school to get a commercial driver's license. You can't just go get the actual license. So, then now there's a whole nother expense
So
before I could even start that.
yeah, so that would be expensive. So either way, there's an investment. On one hand, what I'm hearing is that to work at a sober house or recovery house, it would take cleaning up your record to make sure that when they ran a background on you, that it didn't flag something and stop the process. And then with the driving, it sounds like there's some training cost and some other things that would take a little bit of work and some effort.
Yeah, and my biggest fear is, jumping into that. It's like, putting that much energy for one, I have to continue working during this. I have a mortgage payment and I have bills that have to be paid, kids that need to be taken care of. So like I can't devote 100% of my energy into, trying a different career. And then what if all of a sudden I go through all this and find out that I have a huge roadblock that's going to stop me from doing that? Now I've invested all this time, and now what do I do?
Yeah, so you can't just put your bills on pause and your life on pause. You can't just jump to it and change next week. This is a long process that'll require extra energy and time while you still do something else, your current job to pay your bills. So that sounds like they'll add something to the plate rather than just switching one for one.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the solutions that you've thought of for the first step? What are a few steps that you could maybe explore to first discover what really resonates with you?
Well,
Um,
I've thought about just putting in an application at a treatment center and not necessarily like having that expectation of even taking the job if one were to offer, but just to see if I would pass the background. So I kind of
oh,
knew and get that sense of, to see what I have to do, and then if there is some background stuff, if I need to get some letters sent out or, file for some expungements, at least then I know this is what I need to do.
Yeah, so as a test case, you would put an application in and see if you got flagged, and then you'd be able to respond accordingly.
Yep. Because ultimately, I mean, the working at a treatment facility or something along that lines would be my ultimate, what I would love to do, whether the pay would be, enough for me to, financially live, but I also don't have the $7,000 to, get my CDL. And that's kind of one of those things and it takes a few months to do that nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I heard the word loved, and it sounds like you have really strong emotions and feelings, and a lasting desire to be in the recovery profession.
I do. It's been close to my heart since I'm in recovery. That I want to be able to give back, like like the people that gave their all to me, during my stay and in treatments and stuff like that. I want to be able to give that back to others and help pull others from that same pit that I was in.
Yeah, I'm really hearing a connection with that, and it connected with your story, and feeling that you really have something to offer people. Um, so it sounds like you're wanting to move forward in exploring whether you could be hireable in the recovery community. So what's the first step that you would take then?
I think going to a place that's hiring and getting an application and filling it out.
Okay, so that's very concrete. You need to go get an application and fill it out, and that's just something that is a concrete step that's specific. You either do it or you don't do it. And would that lead you toward or help you to decide whether this is the way to go?
I think it would, if
Yeah.
I filled out the application and I was able to get through the hurdles, because I understand with any new job there's always hurdles, there's always some overcoming to do. But if I were to able to get through that first process and at least get an idea whether I had to do anything or not, I think it would really help me make my decision on when and how I, go about switching careers. Because, like I said, at some point, my body's not going to allow me to do what I do anymore.
Yeah. So it sounds like you don't have a choice to make a change, but it also sounds like you're drawn to something specific.
Yep.
And then it also sounds like you have a plan. Um, so what is one goal that you would want to set between now and the next time we meet related to this?
I think one goal would be get at least one application to some kind of a recovery service and maybe check into grants for driving school.
Okay, so which one of them seems to be the most important?
Honestly, I think getting the application into a recovery
Okay.
is
So
kind of it's more important to me.
okay, so next time we meet, what question should I ask you related to that?
Ask me if I got the application in and if I followed up with the application.
Okay, so I'll write that down, and that's the first thing I'll ask when you come in the door or pop on the screen is whether you got the application and filled it out.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
So
Thank you.
we will see you next time with an application in hand.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Or he, he picked out the treatment, then it was that, and then one of multiple solutions, where he was talking about the different solutions, different things he could try,
Mhm.
so that
That could be a bit
So-
confusing.
Yeah,
So at first, the multiple things that we were talking about are a career change and the things he was thinking about related to a career change. So there's kind of one subject, career change. So we already knew that, but then there's multiple things that were in his mind. So then we said, okay, let's talk about a career change. And then
so that was.
we kind of
the second-
explored it. So it kind of blends together a little bit, but you can
But
kind
then
of,
the multiple solutions to the problem, and that was kind of before you
Yeah.
got to number two, so.
yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't go exactly in order. It depends on how much the person has thought it through already. And so sometimes they'll jump from one and then all of a sudden they'll work on problem solving. Depends on who it is. Some people are chatty and go every which direction. Some people have already thought it through and they're just a little chicken, you know?
That's me no matter what. I'm just all over the place all the time.
Yeah. Well, how did that feel for you, Ryan?
Weird, I don't know, I struggle with, see, the way my brain works is my brain goes in circles all the time, like I replay stuff in my head. And especially big decisions and things that are going on, like, that is how I've coached myself. You know, as
Yeah.
I have this ongoing, just like when I have a to-do list. Especially when I was like a warehouse manager, I had a to-do list in my head. And how I focused, because my ADHD is out of control sometimes, is I would just replay that list constantly in my head. And as I'm doing my projects, and that's how I managed to be so
Yeah,
efficient.
check,
and-
yeah.
Yes, and that's how I was so efficient and why I did so well at those things,
Mhm.
you know, so it's like. But when I try to speak them out, it sounds like gibberish, you know,
Yeah.
and it never comes out the way it's in my head.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty easy from my perspective to follow you and what you were dealing with.
But I mean,
know
as you can
okay.
tell, that's been on my mind quite a bit. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, I know I gotta make some kind of a decision, because, you know, I wake up every morning, my shoulder hurts, my back's kind of itchy, my knees.
Yeah.
So getting out of the truck, I'm going, okay, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna do this.
I hear
Wow,
you.
it's a heavy job.
Well, and I'm only 44 years old, like, I don't wanna be crippled at 50, you know, I just.
That's some, you know,
Yeah.
pretty valid concerns, yeah.
So does that feel like the process that you could lead someone through?
I do honestly feel, and that's why, like, when I came, you know, when I did this. I could definitely see myself, you know, it's, you know. Going through that process, you know, just allowing them to speak, and the biggest thing is like. I was overthinking in there, like, I was like, okay, now what am I supposed to say here? And it's like,
Right.
I should have,
Someone can drive,
like-
yeah.
I had like. I had a hard time pulling myself into character and not just
Right.
into, like, well, I'm supposed to be learning something and I'm supposed to be doing it to a cue.
There's
Yeah.
no.
Well, it's kind of like when I coach basketball for little kids, for my daughter. I was coaching, or oh, no, I was refereeing.
Yep,
But then I had coached her so much, I kept switching from referee. And then I'd end up coaching her on the side, and I'm supposed to be engaged with, with everyone. So switching hats, it can be a challenge. And so knowing you're wearing the coaching hat is helpful. And then the biggest challenge for problem solvers is solving someone's problem, not letting them own the resolution of their problem.
and see,
Because
Or
that-
you trying to come up with answers for them
yeah,
instead of letting
just
them
do
come up
this,
with
just
their
do, yeah.
to be completely honest, that's where I see my struggle is gonna be.
Mhm.
Because I like to be that problem solver. I like to be the
Right.
one to give you the
Mhm.
advice to help, you know, help get you through instead of slowing down. Like, and I acknowledge that when we first started talking about this, I was like, that's gonna be my issue, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Was learning to close my mouth and let them talk.
Yeah. Now, if you're in a pastoral role or a ministry leader role, you can coach someone. And then if there's goals you already set as part of the program, then at the end, you'd say, okay, let me switch hats. Can I give you some feedback on what I've seen? And make sure that you acknowledge that this is a good process that you've done. You've got some realistic goals.
Yeah,
I'd like to share just and switch hats or gears here and just give you my observations of how you're doing and some areas to work on. So, so you can have input, if it's content loaded
Right.
coaching.
Well, I think for me, the first thing I need to like, I'll need to run through this. And I need to focus on, there is no input, I need to allow this process to
Content free,
happen.
yes.
Because until I can get down this process, I'm never gonna be able to keep it to where it's content free until
Yeah.
there's time.
You'll be waiting to
Like,
talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll be sitting there chomping at the bit, like, are you done yet? I got an answer to your problem.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I know me, and I know that's gonna be, it's not a unrealistic, hurdle to jump. It's just, I know that's gonna be where I
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah. No, one of the words of encouragement I would have is that if you do some content free coaching, you'll be someone who's more likely to be listened to. Your input will be more received because you really heard someone out. You built trust first. And they'll ask you the stuff that you want to give them. That's when it'll sink in.
Well, it's kind of funny how this all happened to be going on right now, because I just took on a sponsee. So I get to kind of, in a
Nice.
sense, practice
Okay.
this stuff with my sponsee, and, I mean, he's a great guy and he's really pushing towards the Lord, and, I was blown away when he asked me to be a sponsor. Like, me and him just having a casual conversation about sponsee relationships, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, he comes to me with an 8-page letter on why he felt I should be a sponsor. Like,
Well,
oh.
committed.
Yeah,
That's really
wow,
cool.
yeah, but, so a lot of these things that we're doing now, I'll get to kind of rehearse within without,
Yeah.
like, cause I think it's easier when you can, when you can use this without somebody knowing you're using it, and
Mhm.
actually do the process so you can see how it plays out in real life situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we could either do another role play if you want to. If you're not feeling like you connect with any of these or have one of your own, we don't have to. We've got probably 10 more minutes.
I've got a scenario. I'm 63. I want to retire.
Okay,
like
so
to
why
retire.
don't you pop on your phone and we'll talk that through.
So I'm going to the other end.
Yep, and I'll pause this.
Uh-huh.
All right, so Don, you wanted to talk to me, and just to let you know, I get 127.50 an hour and sign the consent forms and direct deposit. No, I'm just kidding. So there was an issue that you wanted to talk through today. And so what's going on, Don?
Well, I'm thinking about retirement. I'm 63 years old. I don't want to work forever. I'd kind of like to just be able to retire and work with you in the ministry. And I don't know how to go about planning for retirement.
Okay,
Not sure what steps to go through.
okay, so what I'm hearing is you know what issue you want to deal with. You want to talk through today, spend this time chatting a little bit about retirement and what steps you could take. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what are some of the things that are in your mind that might be obstacles to overcome for retirement?
Well, I don't know that I have enough money in a retirement account to be able to sustain for very long.
Okay.
Paying the bills every month with what's in the retirement account. I don't know how long that'll last before that money would run out.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm not even sure how to go about that, and what, I mean, I've got a few different retirement accounts from different previous jobs, but I don't know how to pool it all together to figure out where I stand. And I need to probably think about that before
Okay.
too long.
Okay, so it sounds like one of the first objectives would be to find out how much money you have right now in retirement and gather that information.
Yeah, that would probably be a good step.
Yep. Yeah, so what are some ways that you know of, or who might be able to help you that could gather that information and compile it into a lump sum of how much you have?
Well, I've got, um, Pat, my money guy, probably would be one source I could talk to. Um, and then there's some para conferences that come out once in a while that talk about retirement.
Well,
Um,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Who has access to the accounts and knows how much is in them?
well, I have different files, so I
Okay,
could probably compile that. I just don't know what it all means and how it all plays out.
okay, so it sounds like the first thing would be to compile how much you have, and it sounds like you're able to do that, but then you're not sure of the implications. Does this mean I need to work more? Does this, how do I know when I have enough? Am I hearing you right?
Yes.
Okay, so we might have a couple of different goals, but it sounds like one goal that's a no-brainer that's come out of our conversation is that it might be helpful to just gather the amount of what you have now as a starting point. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that sounds like a good practical first step.
Okay, so that's a good first step. And so I'm just writing a note. First step is to gather. And then it's a little bit complex because there's several factors. You mentioned that you don't know the implications or what it means, and I'm hearing that you're unsure of how much you would need, and so that's where what came to mind for you was getting some advice from an expert or someone who's good at this.
Yes.
Yeah, so that might be a next step, and then. Have you thought about, no, let me use an open-ended question. I'm correcting myself. I would normally do that in my head, but I'm doing this for demonstration. Um, so what is the kind of lifestyle that you would like to have when you retire? And would it be more or less costly than what you currently pay for?
Well, I'm pretty simple, and I just want the bills to be paid and be able to survive without, coming to a point where I run out of money and have to depend on the kids to take care of me.
Yeah, well, so it sounds like you have something to give to an expert then. And that would be the outcome you're looking for to be able to pay the bills. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not like you want to retire and then go to Fiji and Hawaii and need to get like 4 times the income you have now. A pretty simple lifestyle is what you mentioned. Yeah.
Right.
So, um, so the first step you've already identified, which is to gather how much you have. And then it sounds like the second step would be to tell a person who's good at this stuff what kind of lifestyle you want to live and get some advice on how much you would have to add to your retirement to live that lifestyle.
And how long I'd have to work
Yeah, that turns
before I
into
can retire.
right. Okay. So the first step, what's one step that you could take before the next time we met?
Gathering that information, how much
Okay.
do I have set aside in the different accounts?
Okay. All right. And does that seem realistic? Something you could do by the next time we met?
Yeah.
Okay. And then of course, switching hats as a husband, what would you need from me in that process?
Probably just to talk it through and, you know, we work on our finances together. So I need your input on what you think and what your lifestyle will be. if you want me to make more money so we can travel the world, who knows?
He wants to go to Fiji.
Oh, I was thinking of Ramadan. No. Okay, well, so that sounds good. So the next time we meet, we basically, this would be a different than normal coaching scenario. Where you and I would gather information, see how much is there in my retirement and yours, and then we know how much we have. Then we can talk to someone. So the next step is really to gather information. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, and then of course, this is where I would end the session and then follow up with, the first step, and have you gathered it? What did you learn from gathering it? And, what's the next step? And then, you would say either you figured it out or you're going to talk to an expert, and then that would be the second and third coaching opportunity. And so it isn't that complicated.
No,
It's just holding space for someone and saying, hey, here's a little encouragement by the next time we meet, do this one thing that's not that hard. And if we didn't talk, it could drift on for months,
it's helping somebody make the decision to choose to do one thing.
Yeah,
And that's basically all it is.
it stacks
It's
up.
basically, you're just encouraging this person to pick one decision, because it's really hard to just pick one thing to do. Pick one thing and do that one thing in an allotted period, because in my personal experience, I know a lot of people, they get so overwhelmed thinking about all the different things that they're too afraid to do the one.
Yeah.
That would get them.
Yeah. Well, I can relate to that. There's sometimes, I mean, as you can tell, and of course, I'm no longer coaching. We're just having a conversation and follow up. But I can get so bound up because I'm high capacity and can handle a lot of things. But sometimes I'm on at 98%. And I take on that one thing and get locked up.
Yeah.
So then I have to tell myself, do one thing. I don't care where it is on the list. If it's going out and sanding a board, now something's happening. And then I start generating some momentum again. And yeah, every once in a while I get to that point. And then I either need to drop some stuff or do one thing and see how I feel.
There's been, trust me, there's been quite a few times I've been, I need to slow down, I'm overdoing it. Like when I see and hear my brain start screeching, it's time. Or my muscles start screeching.
Yes, yeah, indeed.
I don't need to scoot out, but
Yeah, so that's really the lesson.
I just got my roommates that need picked up from Bible study, because they go to the women's Bible study on Wednesdays.
Okay, well, then I'm going to end this session for everyone. And last thing was, was this helpful?
I did think it was helpful to be on the other end of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I was like, I wanted to do that, because I kind of wanted to see how it felt being done to me, like, so I can get.
Yeah.
Granted, I made it awkward for myself, because
Right.
because I knew what was going on, I knew what we were doing, so it's like,
Right,
I made it awkward for myself, but I wanted to be on that other end.
but you could see what I was
Yeah,
doing and
yeah,
kind of
I could see what you
Yeah.
were doing, and
Yeah.
that was kind of what I was hoping for,
Yeah.
so.
fantastic. How about you, Don?
Yeah, that was helpful, just seeing how it works and yeah, and even for my scenario, it gives me a starting point of something I need to take care of. So
Yeah,
That's
pretty
good.
helpful. Yeah.
yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna stop the recording. And I love you both, but in different ways.
All right,
Well, that's good.
have a
You
great
better.
and Friday then.